What you say? This one for the lady over the first. This one for the lady before burn them. See if you recognize this one. Hear this. Hear me. Fire burning, fire burning, fire burning, fire. I ain't hear you. What you say? What? Fire burning. What? Fire burning, fire burning. One more time. Fire burning, fire burning, fire burning, fire burning. One more. Fire burning. Shadow. What fire? This one for you. Judgment morning. I'm at the gate and I waited. Cause I'm begging the master. Until me I walk with Peter. That all sinners coming. With them I go be dealing. Because the things that they do me, I've also fixed them personally. Peter looks as the road by the gate. Peter look the Englishman. We sent on the road to Africa land. Peter take rally, but leave Victoria for me. Peter can just don't care what you say. Mussolini, he can't get away. Why? Break fire. You don't know because that I undergo from this madman and woman. I feel the full weight of the hand. They don't oppress the law. They never care about the poor. Peter, these people had a day. Well, now it's time for starting to play. Peter, look at them straight by the gate. Peter, I don't want you to make fuss. Remember, I want Brittany for Columbus. After Peter, look the woman. South Africa refused to put sanctions. Peter can just look at what you do like Reagan going in it. Why? This is my time. Break fire. What you think? Grudge me, I'm done full already. You don't deal with the Fuhrer. I go ahead and take Foster. But that woman Mary, remember that's my baby. So I'm back and I'll let you wait. You got to get black sal in a break. Peter, wait! Peter, look, both are reached by the gate. But both I don't want you to waste time. Remember, we still have Morgan behind. After Peter, look, the woman who sent for it troops in Africa land. Peter can just don't care what you say, but the Ku Klux Klan, he can't get away. Why? This is my time for today. Listen. This is Play the music, man. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for the rebels? How about a round of applause for the rebels? One more time. Right. Take a piece. Let me sing one. This is my time for Peter. Peter, you don't know. Because that I undergo. From this madman and woman, I feel the full weight of their hand. They never oppress the law. They never care about the poor. Peter, these people had a day. Well, now it's time for starting to play. Peter, look at that sit by the gate. Peter, I don't want her to make fuss. Remember, I want Britney for Columbus. After Peter, look the woman. South Africa refused to put sanctions. Peter, I just look at what you do like Reagan going in it. Why? This is my time. Bring fire. What you think? To me, I'm done full already. You don't deal with the Fuhrer. But go ahead and take Foster. But that woman Mary, remember that's my baby. So I back and now let's wait. You got to play Black Star in a break. Peter, wait. Peter, look, both are reached by the gate. But both I don't want you to waste time. Remember, we still have Morgan behind. After Peter, look, the woman who sent for his rooms in Africa land. Peter can just don't care what you say, but the Ku Klux Klan can't get away. Why?
This is my time for the day.
Listen.
This is my time for the day.
Play the music, man. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for the rebels? One more time. Right. Take a piece. We can remember the dog, Panama. After Peter, look the woman who brings foreign troops in the Caribbean. Peter can just look at what you do like ballin'. Why?
This is my time for the day.
What?
Keep the fire blazing.
I ain't hear you. What you say?
This is my time for the day. Keep the fire blazing.
Play the music. Take it out.
Oh, yes. The black man himself, Dr. Leroy Callies, the Black Stallion, giving us one of the memorable ones, the classic. On them, on them, on them. 1987, the Black Stallion. Good evening to all of you, and welcome to Politics 101. Tonight is Thursday night. We should have, tonight is normally GCOM night, Vincent Alexander. But Vincent is at a symposium, the PNC's, I think it's their 70th, 57th, 65, 68th anniversary. They're celebrating today. They had lots of activities, and there's a symposium tonight, and Vincent is on that panel. But we have quite a show tonight. I did not advertise the guest on the show until recently, for obvious reasons. Welcome. Please share the link. Let everyone know that we are on tonight with Politics 101. Politics 101 is going to be quite a show tonight. Good evening, and Paul, and welcome wherever you're joining us from. If you're joining us from Linden, all the way in the interior, I know some people there in the bush. My brother out there in the interior, in the bush, as he said, who is rooting for me and rooting for the WPA out there in the bush, sent me his usual advice last night. I hear you, my brother. I hear you. They said we get 5 members. I'm ready to release the roster. Welcome to Politics 101, and all our supporters, all the supporters of the WPA, the supporters of the coalition, the supporters of justice out there in Region 7, Region 8, Region 9. Welcome to Politics 101. I hope you are getting us loud and clear out there. How about you in Region 5, my favorite part of the country? West Coast puppies. African country. Welcome to all of you in Region 6, my wonderful cousins in New Amsterdam. You know, that's where my mother originally, or family is from, New Amsterdam. So when I go to New Amsterdam, it's got to be careful, you know, who's your family? Originally, really from down the Country Creek, and then they moved to New Amsterdam. There's a lot of people down in the Country Creek usually come out to New Amsterdam. All of you on the Quarantine Coast, welcome to Politics 101 tonight. And of course, the East Coast of Demerara, you know, we Guyanese, you know, we just do it. East Coast of Demerara. East Coast of Demerara. How about you, the good people in Melanie Damishana? You all are going to have an interesting tonight show, Melanie people. Good night. And my people in the old Orange Nassau, turned Buxton. You know, I was telling my class today, you know, we are interested people, we were talking, I was teaching them about post-emancipation political economy, and we were talking about the village movement. And I was telling them that, you know, the gratefulness factor. Our people bought their lands and they created the village, the first village, they call it Victoria. Thank you, Queen Victoria. And they buy Buxton and they name it after Sir Thomas Fowell Buxton, who was one of the British abolitionists in the British Parliament. And they said, thank you, Mr. Buxton. And they named the village after him, Thomas Fowell Buxton. There was another British abolitionist called Thomas Clarkson. And then another one called William Wilberforce. Other history teacher was in primary school, Mr. Gill. He was a Pleasance man, he teach in Buxton. He said, Thomas Fowell Buxton, William Wilberforce, and Thomas Clarkson. Never forget those names. Mr. Gill, thank you. 50 odd years later, I still remember Thomas Fowell Buxton, William Wilberforce, and Thomas Clarkson, 3 leading British abolitionists in the early 19th century. We are a grateful people. Well, you all know that on Monday night, on Monday night, I was in Ricketix, and I, addressed the issue of the PPP under the guise of seeking votes to win an election is really trying to get African Guyanese to say, look, you can get some of this oil money, but here what you're gonna do. You got to join the PPP, or you got to vote for the PPP to get this money. I believe every Guyanese has the right to belong to whatever party you belong to. You all have heard me say that here a million times. That is your right. The right of association is enshrined in our Constitution. Every political party has the right to campaign and recruit members from any community. It is the right of association. Every political party has the right to seek votes from any community. It's their right. Every Guyanese of any race, all races, has the right to get contracts, to work for government, regardless of which government in power. Which government in power. You have the right to work. You have the right to get contract, whether PPP, PNC, APNU, whoever in power. And none of those parties or government has the right to come to you and say, in order for you to get a work, or in order for you to get a contract, you have to join my party. No. Even if you put on a PNC jersey and you go to get a work under the PPP, you have a right to get that work. And under APNU and the PNC, even if you put on a PPP jersey, you have a right to get your work. I believe in that. I'm clear about that. Very clear. That is my political upbringing. What I can't accept is for a government to come to an ethnic group and say, if you want a $40,000 work, if you want a contract, if you want to get in to this place and get into that place, you have to join the PPP, put on a red jersey, and go to PYO conference. I'm totally against that. And this PPP government has instituted that. When you do that, you declare war against the African Guyanese community. And you declare war against David Hines. And I do not believe in such circumstances to remain quiet. Fight back. And I intend to use my body, to quote Walter Rodney, as a barricade against the PPP going into black communities and telling them, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, but you got to join me. Not with David Hines. Tal. And so that is what motivated my comments and my show on Tuesday night, Monday night. And in the process of doing so, I sought to speak to African Guyanese who have openly done what is their right to say they want to leave opposition parties and join the PPP. Is their right. But I sought to say to them, in the process of doing so, do not engage in selling your brotherin and sisterin over there. And in typical Guyanese, colorful, colloquial language, I borrowed from the Calypsonian Crow, who sang a calypso 30 years ago called Lick Bottom Africans. And I thought I was dealing with an elite that understand literature and understand art and understand language and understand what the literature people they call understand how you can use words to dramatize what you're saying. Martin Carter has a line in one of his poem, when the moon comes out, only the horse could dance. And people look at that, they say, well, Martin Carter is using inappropriate language. My message was clear, or at least I thought it was clear. Well, all hell broke loose on the other side. David Hines, dividing people. I'm talking to Africans, but yet dividing people. David Hines, inappropriate language from people whose leader every day does call black women low life. Fossils calling opposition people. Old people, geriatrics in an offensive way. Every week. The president of this country went to Boston and passed in the way. I see a crowd. I said, what you all get over there? The president hear me voice. He said, that clown. President called me a clown. I didn't cry. I wait for you and I dash the last penny as I remember. He never called me name after then. I didn't cry. I didn't go to the Chronicle and say President Ali thing. I'm a big boy. Freddie Kisoon and them give me name Black Pudding Man. I didn't cry because I'm a big boy. But when I dash the lash now and I call them a Trini name, oh God, ban David Hines from Guyana. Send it to the workplace and tell them he's a racist. Call Donald Trump, the president of this country, call me a joker. Nobody. My good friend Pandit didn't remember to call me a joker. The PPP leaders, they call Moses Nagamutu Uncle Mo. They call Ramjatan. They call Pandit Nimakaran and all them Hindi dirtiness. But when David Hines just caught from a calypso, oh Lord, oh Jesus Christ, Nigel Hughes must throw David Hines. David Abrinat must throw. Yeah, my belly hurt me. If this thing wasn't so serious. Anyhow, I called two names. James Bond and Leno Craig. Two young men who I consider friends. James Bond more than Leno. And again, I thought my message would have been clear that I'm not interested in James Bond and Leno. I'm interested in the PPP, and I'm interested in standing up at the gate and say to them, I am passing it to go and hunt down black people. My two friends get caught in the crossfire. I will fight for James Wright and Leno Wright to belong to the PPP. I got friends in the PPP. Who fight for the PPP, get blows to the PPP. The guy Indians in the PNC who fight for the PNC, get blows to the PNC. Anyhow. James did what I think is an honorable thing. He called me. He had been trying to call me since Tuesday, but he didn't realize me get like them young people me change my phone number. Them young people change the SIM every 2 days, 3 days, and so on. He didn't realize. I heard him on the air, and we had a talk last night, and I invited him to come on to this program today. As for full disclosure, Leno Craig also called me this morning. I had a long talk with him, and I've invited him to come on to this program next week. Because I think these guys have the right that if I call the name, to be vexed with me. But they have a right to understand where I'm going, and I have a right to understand what is driving them. And you, our supporters, have a right to be vexed with James, because James, more than Leno, was a big buy in the PNC. And you all get a right to vex with it. But I always say, vex but not cuss. And so, in the spirit of African discourse, I've invited James here, and he never hesitated. He said, right, Doc, I'll be on. I've known James. I met James first when we were negotiating the APNU. He was one of the young men who used to be there representing the PNC. And I met him there, enthusiastic young man, as usual. And I got to know him better after. On the 5th of December 2011, he was one of the persons who was shot by the police. I would have been at the front of the march had I not been at the, and I get a picture somewhere, because James was wondering why I didn't get shot. He thought I was hiding. I was negotiating with Mr. Watts and the police and telling them that it's our right to march. And James and them marched away and left me on the square talking to the police. I get a picture. If not, I would have been at the front then. I would have get shoot up with James and Ogunse and Eddie Collins. Later on, James and I and Eddie would lead marches of the YCT, organized by the YCT, the young people. And I like the boys since then. I like brave little boys. And he now kind of big boy thing and so on. And I would go to his place at Melanie and hang out, and I just get royal treatment. I just drink the most expensive liquor. Let me go there and so on. Get the best treatment. So I'm saying that things to say that James is my friend. I can say that. And so James is here tonight to talk his story. And you all know, as usual, I say, behave as yourself. All right? Treat this brother with respect. Right? Whatever you all may think. Right? And so, in the African spirit, James is here tonight. Brother James.
Elder Dr. David Hines. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing all right, James. Is there anything in that introduction that you want to amend, that I tell light on you or anything?
The only thing is, I must say, it is not the posture of the PP Civic to bribe people into support. That has not been my experience.
Right.
my experience has been where I would have informed Dr. Ali that I was supporting him. I told him that myself and my family, we're supporting you. And I gave him my reasons for so doing. He has never asked me to join the PPP Civic. He has never asked for my vote. The only thing he said to me is that, James, you have a place with me. And he said that since 2020. He was sitting down at Hatfield Street. I was standing and we were speaking. I can remember two things I asked him for, and he says he'll work on those two things once he becomes president. And my friendship with him would have grown since then, as most persons know. When persons were not inviting me anywhere, they were not telling James want to come here, come there. He was one person who was saying, James, we have an event here at State House. Come, we have this happening. Please come. So where I was situationally in terms of a friendship with him, I told him I was going to support him, and then more so, the trajectory of the country, Dr. Hines, where the country is moving apace. In opposition, we always wanted to be a part. I mean, I can remember being a part of the opposition in 2000 from 10, 11 coming on. And we always wanted and always asked to be a part, to sit at the table, to be a part of whatever is taking place. It's something we fight for. We fight for economic independence, to have a share at the table, to have a piece of the pie. We've been fighting for that and asking for that. And here's the government that is actually giving it to you. Here is the government, in my opinion.
Don't go so fast, James. Don't go so fast.
Talk to me.
Let me go back a little bit. James, you represented the PNC in Parliament.
Yeah.
Up to last year, August, you were at the opening of the PNC Congress. I saw you there, I was there, and so on. Up to a couple of weeks ago, you were on the Freddie Kissoon show, and you refused to be drawn in to a condemnation of Aubrey Norton and so on. So you are not an ordinary citizen. You're not an ordinary Joe Blow, as we say. That's one. Two, you were very high up in the PNC. And three, up to about a month and a half ago, you gave the impression that you were still with the PNC. And then out of the blues, here comes this announcement that you're going with President Ali and the PPP. You must know that you are not an ordinary citizen. You are a leader of a party, and basically, in a sense, our politics is as such that the PPP and PNC are really enemies. So you're moving from one camp to the enemy camp. All right? That's not an ordinary move. Did you, as you were making up your mind, take all those factors into consideration, that there were going to be a vicious pushback against you?
All right, let me just put it this way. Of course, I realize that, but the thing is, I don't think persons realize that I met with Dr. Ali at State House. It's not a situation. If people think that, oh, this is just something happening on the spur of the moment, I met with him at State House. It was a one-on-one meeting.
Yes.
And at that time, that's after the Congress. And that was way after the Congress. Congress happened last year. I'm talking about sometime.
Yes, that was August last year.
Yeah, well, I met with Dr. Ali after that.
After that. But
yes,
I saw you about 6 weeks ago on Freddie Kissoon show, and they were trying to get you to.
No, but I will never. And this is Dr. Hines. You must understand this here. I will never attack Aubrey Norton.
Okay, good.
And the same way I would never attack you.
Right.
I told you. But let me just give an overarching worldview of James Bond. Right. I respect my elders. I've learned that if your elder put licks on you and lash you, you can't go beating back on your elders. You gotta give some kind of respect to your elders. So Aubrey Norton, I've known him for since I came into politics. So I will never criticize him publicly or say anything offensive against him publicly. Nobody could set me up with that. But I was saying, after having met with Dr. Ali and seeing visibly the options, the opportunities available to young people, to all Guyanese. I've said this is something that to transition from the PNC to the PPP Civic is not as you put it that enemies. We're not enemies. I think we as leaders, no matter which part of the divide we're from, need to stop calling each other enemies because we're not. At the end of the day, most of our communities are integrated. At the end of the day, we have interracial marriages, even though we have ethnic voting. At the end of the day, we live together. For 5 years, we live together until election time. So we must stop saying we're enemies. I have a very serious issue with us calling the PP Civic enemies and calling the PNC enemies. Because if we do that, we will never have true nation building.
Yeah. But let me stop you, James. We ought not to be enemies. We are not historical enemies. The African Guyanese never enslaved Indian Guyanese. Indian Guyanese never enslaved African Guyanese. So you're
Thank
right.
you for making that point. Thank you
Right.
for making that point,
Right.
Doctor.
We are not
Thank you.
historical memories, historical enemies. We ought not to be historical memories. But here's the story. For 4 years between 1961 and 1964, we killed each other in the disturbances. You weren't born then.
Correct.
It was vicious. All right? It takes sometimes some places 100 and more years to overcome the vestiges of war. 1964 was a mere 60 years ago. And the scars of that still there on our people. Now, have we done our best to stay together? We have. But the fact of the matter is that we do, in many regards, live as enemies. Whether you think so or not, that is a fact. So when an African leaves the African party, goes over to the Indian party, or the Indian leaves the Indian party and goes over to the African party, there is a reaction to it. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that we are historical enemies, but given the way our politics have played out, we live as political enemies. All right? No,
Yeah, but Dr.
fight
Hines,
for each other and so on. But we
Yeah.
live as political enemies.
yeah, but Dr. Hines, if I may,
Yes.
in 1979, Dr. Walter Rodney died.
Yes.
And the WPA was the mortal enemy of the PNC.
Yes.
But the WPA has forgiven the PNC
Right.
and no longer calls them enemies.
Right.
So what is the difference between the PPP and the PNC? Is it
Here's
race? Is it race?
aye. The WPA answered Robert Corbyn's call for a rapprochement and getting into a coalition. The PPP has said repeatedly to the PNC, we don't want to be in a coalition with you. That is the difference. Proceed.
And I beg to disagree.
Talk
There
to
were
me.
talks in the 80s. There were talks in the 80s. And this is
On the
the thing.
jargon. On the
Yeah,
jargon.
on the jargon, but those were thwarted by the PNC.
Right.
So
But
then we can't say the PPP has never extended an olive branch.
that's
I
not
think
what I said. I said,
the PPP Civic extended an olive branch also in 1992.
yeah.
They extended an olive branch in 1992 as well. And even today, the PPP Civic has always extended up. I could
No,
quote
that is
Dr.
not-
Ali.
That is not true.
I could say this here. I could say this without fear of successful contradiction. I think Dr. Ali
That is not
wouldn't mind me saying this. He wouldn't mind me saying this. He has said very clearly, he says, James, I want to work with the PNC. I want to work with the PNC. So it's not a situation whereby we have a president who extends himself as hostile to the PNC. Look at the Marcus Quarters that you raised on the said Monday night. He said, in spite of the judgment of the court, that he's willing to work and help and provide compensation and assist the very 6 squatters. But what persons don't realize is the other squatters that actually were there, they receive compensation, receive new house lots. So is this indicative of a government who hates black people, who's the enemy of black people? I beg to differ.
All right.
Honestly, beg to differ.
All right, James.
And the evidence, again, the evidence is with James Bond.
Yes.
I don't want to take my word for it. I don't want anybody to trust me.
Yes.
But I will say my truth. My truth is very simple.
Yes.
Yes, we both had experiences with the People's Progressive Party Civic. I could give the good and the bad. I received
Yes.
my first scholarship on the PP Civic. I bought my first home. I got my first business, my practice on the PP Civic. I also received a lot of treatment from the PNC for the PP Civic that was inhumane,
They
being
make the
shot, being
police
shooted.
in
Yeah,
2011.
yeah. But the thing is, we can't. I don't think it is progressive in human nature to hold these grudges forever. I can't go ahead
I'm with you there.
hating the
I'm with
entire
you there.
political movement of the PP Civic. And you would remember, Dr. Hines, there was an option to actually sue the PP Civic when we got shot. And Eddie Collins and the others says, James, no, this is part and parcel of the struggle. Do not let us litigate against them for it. So at that time, we all forgive the PPP Civic for what they did.
Yes.
You know, so all I'm saying is we want to move the country forward. We all want a part of that. We're not going to say, well, look, the PP Civic, you have the full mandate to move the country forward without us. I'm saying there is a space, there is a place for every single Guyanese, and it is something that we're advocating for.
Good, good. All right, James, let me ask you this. What was it that tipped the scale for you? At what point there was this thing? I've gone from the PNC, I'm going to the PPP. Obviously there was a moment, but what was the confluence of factors that made you go from one? You didn't say, boy, I'm going from the PNC to the AFC, or I'm going to the WPA on the same opposition side. You're making, what do you call it, a 360? Eh? At what is it? There must be something.
Dr. Hines, I share this with you personally, and it's something I would keep close. I won't share it publicly, the key reason, but I could say this for the viewers. I've always had an idea that I could serve at the highest level, whatever I do. That's what my father taught all of us, actually. He says, James, if you're going to aim to be the best, aim for the top, aim for the skies, not the earthly mountain tops. I grew up in a family like that. And I realized that there's a window for it. There is a window, and time is the most expensive currency there is. There's no other currency like time. So being at the age that I am, I'm looking around at the political space that is there and is available. I'm saying, James, you're looking at yourself in the next 5-10 years, that's it. And then I look around and I see where I am, where I want to be, and what is the vehicle or conduit I could use to get there. And I realized I couldn't do it staying still. What you don't use, you lose. Mm-hmm. And I was in a place where whatever my skills and talents were, they were not being used, they were not being utilized. And for me, I need, in terms of politics, you need to work, you need to be busy. And politically, I saw, when I spoke with Dr. Ali, I saw an opportunity to not only work politically, do political work, be a part of a political machinery. I saw the opportunity to also bring some youngsters along who, just like me, were feeling ostracized, were feeling left out, were feeling like, look, there's no place for the best and the brightest, And I said, something, I want to move. The only place for me to move to with was the PPPC. With all due respect to the other parties, other than the PNC, those parties that don't have the I don't think I don't want to be critical of anyone, but let me say the smaller parties, in terms of if you want to achieve what you want to achieve in a certain amount of time, there's only two ways you could do that. There's only two parties available for that. It's either the PNC or the PP Civic. So on a deep personal level, that was it.
That was it. And that's fair. That's fair, James. I can't argue with that. We have to merge the personal with the collective. At the personal level, you felt that you wanted to do certain things and that the PPP offered the best opportunity at the personal level. But let us go to the collective level.
Yes.
The nature of our society is one. Now, in America, you can move from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party with relative ease. Nobody pays too much attention to that. Partly because there is not the big ethnic divide between American whites Democratic and Republican whites. People could move easily. But again, the nature of our society, there was no way you could have moved to that other party without the notice of the wider community. And the response of the wider community would be reflected by the way they see politics. So what I'm trying to get you to tell me, James, because I'm saying you have made a big sacrifice and you've taken a big chance, you take the big gamble, there must be rewards when you take such a big gamble. James, if I decide I go join the PPP tomorrow, I better be able to tell black people, you know what I mean, that I can help you all better in the PPP than on the opposition side. Or else they will hang me. Not literally, but they will hang me. So if I were to make that decision, I will have to say, here is the chance I'm taking. What can I tell my African Guyanese people that I can achieve for them when I go to the PPP? As I'm putting that question to you.
That's an excellent question, Dr. Hines. And I must say, I don't like to toot my own horn on these things.
Yes.
But you've given the opportunity for me to toot my own horn, so to speak.
Yes.
Without political power, without political office, all the roads in Melanie you see done is the result of my intervention. All the contractors that got roads done in Melanie is because of my intervention. I'm the person who called Minister Indar and says, look, the Melanie Main Road is in a bad state, we need it done. He says, James, it will be done. I'm the person and Mr. Eric Morris, the engineer, who walked the length and breadth of Melanie North and Melanie South, measured all those roads, do the bill of quantities, everything, put it in a document which I gave to Vice President Jack Dio. Later on, all of those roads got done. I still have the messages which I recommended the contractors from Melanie to get those jobs, all of them. And all of them got roads done in Melanie. I am the person, along with Mr. Bascom, who just recently got the cleaning of Melanie facilitated, in which just the clean of people try to denigrate cleaning of gutters, and I always believe in hard work and honest pay. In Melanie, the cleaning of Melanie is done by Melanians, young Melanians, all. And I think the smallest contract was $1.6 million to clean their own community. So those are things that were done in Melanie with government assistance, but without a government office, without a government title. Privately, I've done hampers. I've done the street lights. I went and got the ground. Myself and Mr. Muhammad, we were working on building a state-of-the-art ground at Melanie there. But because of some ignorant black people, like Kadaki, Amsterdam, etc., they said I was selling the ground to Muhammad. Whereas Mr. Muhammad simply wanted to build the ground. But he said James was selling the ground to Melanie. So we have a problem within our own selves of attacking our own when we see development. I don't know where that come from, Dr. Hines.
But I just explained to you where it come from, James.
Maybe you could explain it.
Your political enemies.
Again, not every East Indian is political. Not every East Indian is political. After the Melanie Plaza, the dilapidated Melanie Plaza, which is run down now, James Bond, met with the co-op, presented them the economic plan. I says, look, I will pay for the architect. $500,000, I wrote a check and gave him. I paid for him to do the plan, do the architectural drawings, and present it to the co-op. Of course, we have a difficulty working together. And again, Dr. Hines, maybe you could explain this better than I can. So on a personal level, I don't talk about the businesses that I would have raised up in Melanie, practically speaking, with James Bond Bar, and the economic activity that is coming there to James Bond Bar. And this is just in these past few years in Melanie. I have a political footprint on every part of this country. East Bank, East Coast, you name it, I've done it. But the issue is that within our own community, there is no appreciation. It's like a prophet who is with honor except in his own home country. I was being castigated long before this decision, Dr. Hines. I was being called a sellout. I was being called a house slave. I was being called so many names before this, and I can remember going on walkabouts with the mayor And then certain council persons are saying, we doing he. And this is not in 2024, it's in 2021. You know what I'm saying? So I was always, for some reason, persons when they see some persons, when they see James Bond, I don't know if it's a threat thing or I don't know. But I've always been under attack. Because once I know, for example, I think different, I act different, and maybe that kind of individualism affects people, rubs them the wrong way. But at the end of the day, I'm always for the collective. I've never been a selfish person. Around me right now, I have 8 new entrepreneurs. 8 new entrepreneurs. They all have their own businesses. They all have their own, and they're all working with me on my project. I have a project, and they're all working with me. I pay all of them, every single which one of them. So, collectively, I don't have to tell people or trump people that, oh, James Bond is going to help you. The proof is in the pudding. You ask whoever knows me. I was never a selfish person, will never be a selfish person. But I think we need to create a space where Afro-Guyanese look, when they see another Afro-Guyanese in a business space, they're comfortable with it. We must be accustomed and support and promote Afro-Guyanese who enter into the business space, who strive for economic empowerment. Not because a man seeks economic empowerment means he's a sellout, or he's greedy, or he's licorice. Not because he seeks to elevate himself from the one hut and the shacks of poverty means he's greedy or he's licorice. There's no limit to what we could achieve. If we study history of Kemet and what happened in Africa, you would see that there's one point in the world when African civilization dominated the world with excellence. So with that background, we must be welcoming of other Afro-Guyanese in excellence. But I think it's something to do with when we say, oh, you're a house slave because you were trying to excel. You're trying to be different. You're trying to do well for yourselves. You're a house slave. You're a house Negro. You're trying to be like the Indians. You're trying to be like Massa.
James, don't do that, man. You see, this is part of the problem. Because African Guyanese are saying that when persons like yourself go over to the PPP, your narrative changes. Somebody's pointing out that you talk about ignorant black people. And I've heard that from people who cross over to the PPP. All of a sudden, black people are no longer reasonable. They're ignorant, they're stupid, they're this and that. And that's part of the problem, right? Now, I don't think that's what you set out to do. But
I don't think I said ignorant black people. I don't think I said that.
You say ignorant people like Kidaki and them.
Yeah, and ignorant in the sense of lacking knowledge.
Right.
Ignorant means lacking knowledge. Yeah, and I would say it publicly, and I don't mean confrontational, Doc. Right. I don't mean to be confrontational, my elder. But I'm saying this just like how persons want to be truthful. Let us be honest. Let's have an honest conversation.
Right.
If Kidaki Amsterdam is going to say on his program, he and I have met, and I said, look, he said we're still friends. I said, no, we're not friends. We're brothers. I said, you want to shake my hand? I said, only shake your hand if you say I'm your brother. Don't tell me as your friend. When you put all them licks in me, I says, shake my hand if you're going to say that I'm your brother. And he says, yes, I'm your brother, and we shook hands. So what I'm saying to my brother is this: if you're going to say that James Bond is selling out the land to Muhammad, you have no knowledge what's going on. You're being ignorant. Ignorance simply means lacking knowledge. I don't know how the persons interpret that. So I'm saying, without any knowledge, he made a pronouncement. He was ignorant.
Yeah. All right, James, listen. You talk about Melanie and getting things done, and I think that is laudable work. I think people who are closer to the PPP are likely to get that kind of work done than those of us who are not close to the PPP.
But without being at the PPP civic, without being close, without being in any proximity, these things were done by Mr. Bond.
Let's get to the PPP now. Let's get to the PPP. There are issues that African Guyanese have.
Yes.
You may not agree with some of the issues. You may not agree that these issues are a big deal. And one of the issues African Guyanese have is that their sons and daughters, but mostly their sons, are vulnerable to the police shooting them down in a way that other ethnic groups don't get shoot down. As a member of the PPP, how are you going to please convince my audience here, and this is going to go viral, convince us how James Bond joining the PPP can help to change that behavior of the force. Now it has happened under all parties, right? Black people have been shut down under all parties, but more as have been shut down under PPP governments. It's an issue that Black people have. And I think what I hear you saying is that I think in the PPP, I can do more for Black people, right? So yeah, we have problems with roads, but we have some big structural problems, like police brutality, extrajudicial killing. Talk to us how you being in the PPP can help to bring a stop to that.
First and foremost, Dr. Hines, on the program with Freddie Kissoon, I echoed your sentiments when you spoke of the mucker squatters. I said, in no way, shape, or form could we condone dragging people through the mud, tossing down their houses in that manner, have their produce in the mud. Any human that would touch any human being. And if person, I will not lose my humanity by going with the PPP Civic. I will not sit idly by and see and have nothing to say if I see someone ill-treat any race, whether it's an Afro brother, whether it's an Indus brother, whether it's an Amerindian brother. I will not countenance that. I'm not going to lose. I think persons think, and I understand the fear. It's about fear, Dr. Hines. Yes, I understand the fear of our sisters and brothers being fearful and that you know what, our consciences will now be seared. My conscience will not be seared. I will not sit idly by and stand anybody and see any atrocity done to any Guyanese. More so.
No, we're talking about Guyanese brother. Yes, right. Well, okay.
Amerindian Guyanese brother, Afro Guyanese brother. I think that we need to raise the level of consciousness in our country, and where we get them extra sensitive, not just about the Afro Guyanese who go to the PP Civic. We need to work on the consciences and the sensibilities of our Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters within the PPP Civic, our Afro-Guyanese brothers and sisters within the PNC Civic, PNC party. Because what you find is this here. It's only a certain section of society reacts to these things. So I think collectively, we must raise the level of awareness, raise the level of our sensibilities and our consciousness in terms of human rights violations throughout the length and breadth of Guyana. It's not a PPC problem, it's a Guyana problem. It's a problem in the police force, so to speak, because we need to understand that what affects us, what affects one, affects us all as a country. So it's not just, the PP Civic are committing these atrocities, and you know, as a Black man, it's your responsibility to fight against it. No, it's a responsibility of the entire country to fight against it.
I still want you keen on my question, James.
I've answered the question, sir.
Let me put it a little differently.
Yeah.
Are you prepared when you go into the PPP to speak to your colleagues in the PPP, in the leadership of the PPP, about this problem of extrajudicial killing of African Guyanese that has plagued the Vice President as an argument with Nigel Hughes over whether it's 400 who got killed or 1,200. The fact of the matter is that under the PPP, disproportionately more young Black men like yourself have been killed. I still want to hear how James Bond going into the PPP, how you intend, if you intend at all, to deal with those issues in the PPP.
You're speaking specifically of the extrajudicial killings that someone Nigel Hughes raised?
Let's not quibble over numbers. We are saying more African Guyanese have been murdered by the police under the PPP than under the PNC.
And can I say this very clearly, sir?
Yes.
Extrajudicial killings to me, whether done by the PPPC, the PNC, the WPA, the TUF, whoever is in government, I am saying it is my responsibility as an individual to speak against this, which I will, at any state, at any time. But I'm saying, sir, there's a caveat to it. It is not just about one person or one group speaking against it. It just can't be your voice and Nigel Yu's voice and my voice. It has to be the entire country speaking against it. And I'm saying we need to raise the level of awareness, the level of sensibility to these kind of violations. That's what I'm saying, sir.
The subvention from ITPADG has been taken away. It was granted by David Granger, and it has been taken away from ITPADG under a United Nations mechanism that was signed by the PPP government. It took away that subvention from the premier African Guyanese organization. Is James Bond prepared? When he gets into the PPP, well, you are already in the PPP. Are you prepared to ask your colleagues in the PPP to lobby them in the PPP for a restoration of the subvention to ITPADG?
A few years ago, when that happened, we being honest on this show, so I have to be honest.
Yes.
When that story broke, and I saw the numbers, the amount of funding that ITPADG was getting, and what it was being spent on, I think I raised the question as to whether it could have been spent differently. I may not have been too critical, but I think I was critical in the manner of which ITPADG spent the money. So let me just say that out from the outset before I say what I want to say, because we have to be transparent, we have to be honest. Whether or not I was wrong to criticize how ITPADG spent the money, in hindsight,
that's right. That's all right. That's all right.
In hindsight, maybe I should not have queried in that kind of manner without having a full understanding of what they were doing. Apparently, ITPADG was doing a lot of training, more training, more for capacity building than setting up businesses and investments, etc., in the Afro-Guyanese community. And I may not have seen the wisdom in that approach, as to focus more on capacity building than actually the hands-on element of creating new businessmen in the Afro-Guyanese community. I will say this though, whatever the Afro-Guyanese community deserves via ITPADG and via ACDA, I will advocate for increased subvention, not just a subvention, increased subvention. And it's not to give priority or special treatment to Afro-Guyanese. This is my explanation. In a multi-ethnic society, we must be careful in terms of how we prioritize or how government's monies are spent. And every other group, whether it's an Indian rights group or Armenian rights group, they all receive funding. They all receive subventions from government. In no way, shape, or form, without good cause or good reason, should we take away any funding from any of these groups. If the United Nations, the premier body, would have said, we need to invest in these communities, particular community, especially, I think this is the year of the decade, there's in a decade for people of African descent. As a government, we should honor that. We should honor that. There should be no hesitation when it comes to African rights, so to speak, or giving Africans their just desserts, or the descendants of Africans their just desserts. And that is why I even I'm a silent advocate for reparations. I'm a silent advocate. I may not come out every day and speak of reparations, but I'm a silent advocate for reparations. But also, let me just add a caveat to that. I also believe 100% that as a community, we must, as a people, be willing to put our shoulders to the wheel as our ancestors did in the period of apprenticeship. During the period of apprenticeship, No one worked as hard as former slaves. No one worked as hard. You spoke of us buying villages and naming them after Victoria and Buxton. No one worked harder than us. And we need to get back to being hard-working Africans.
You're saying that we don't work hard now?
No, I'm saying we don't work hard enough.
Okay.
I say that without.
You mean work hard?
Dr. Hines, I say this and I say this. I'm not. This is something I'm not even second guess because I see the state of the African community. We don't work hard enough. We've neglected the farms. We've neglected the husbandries. We've neglected welding and construction. We've neglected these things. That allowed us to buy villages.
Yeah, but
I
don't agree. I don't agree with your conclusion that they don't work hard enough.
We do not work. We do. I'm saying we have a lot of land. We have a lot of space. We have a lot of things we could do. Without a government, without somebody prodding us, without somebody whipping us and beating us and telling us go do this, go do that.
But why do you?
We are now in a place. We are now in a place of independence, and we must position ourselves. This is the phrase I always use. It's not about sitting and lying in a corner. It's not about doing a 9 to 5. You've got to position yourself. You've got to put yourself in the place whereby you could be successful. And we've got to work harder. We've got to make a more greater contribution to this country. We did it before, and we could do it again. As a people, we must be responsible. I'm not being condescending. Don't get me wrong, guys. Give me a few seconds.
Yeah, all right.
I'm not being condescending. I walk through African villages. I walk through, and I see a lot of limers. I see a lot of persons who are not gainfully employed, and I see some who are trying to make it. And the minute they make it, we hear, oh, they're house Negroes. I'm saying collectively, we have a responsibility to our families, to this country. Let us work hard as our ancestors did during the period of apprenticeship. Let's work harder. Position ourselves. There's a lot of stuff that is going on. Don't let anybody tell you the PP Civic is your enemy, and don't take work from them, don't take jobs from them, and abuse you and lick you down when you do accept jobs with taxpayers' money. This is not the PP Civic money or government money. This is taxpayers' money.
James. People don't say people saying don't take PPP's money in exchange.
Dr. Hines, let me hear you. Yes, let me hear you.
Yes, they're saying do not take PPP money in exchange for them putting a gun in your hand to come and shoot your brother.
I beg to disagree, Dr. Hines.
Hold on. I don't whether you disagree or not.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I just want you, because this is a difficult conversation, but it's also a necessary conversation. Black people defend this country. I'm responding to your thing that they've got to make a greater contribution to this country. Black people defend this country in the army proportionally. They police this country, whatever you think about the police force. They are the ones who are keeping us relatively safe. They are the ones who are teaching our children. The majority of teachers are African Guyanese. They are the ones who are nursing our people. The majority of nurses are African Guyanese. They are the ones who are making government work. The majority of public servants. James, be careful. Be careful when you're saying these things. And you see, this is my problem, right? I'm saying you can belong to the PPP, but don't get into that rhetoric that black people don't work enough, don't contribute to this country. James, you know better.
Sir, Dr. Hines, if I may, Dr. Hines, let me just say this very clearly. Let me just say very clearly, Dr. Hines.
Don't judge them by the limers. Don't judge black people by the limers. Don't judge them by the people, the boys them on the corner who's broken the weed and maybe don't want to go and work. Judge them by the public servants, the army, the police, the teachers, the nurses.
Dr. Hines, this is the point I'm making very clearly.
Yes.
I'm speaking right now, as you were speaking, of the greater contribution to the country in this sense. First and foremost, when I speak of the police, the soldiers, the nurses, and those in the public sector, you know what I say to them? And this is record. I said it's time for you now to leave that. I say that publicly on my page. I say that. I says, you know what? We have got to position ourselves to become our own businessmen, to become our own farmers, to become everything. So when you tell me of us making a contribution via the police force and via the public service, I see, something, that's a good contribution. But there's a greater contribution to be had to this country by becoming independent, becoming economically independent. And I've said that over and over again.
James, I think you're mixing up two things.
No, I'm saying the greater contribution.
You're mixing.
There is a greater contribution, Dr. Hines.
I am all for people getting into business, but the yardstick by which you make a contribution to your country must not be judged by only entrepreneurship. I'm just saying that. I want 1,000 billionaire black billionaires. I want that, right? But you ought not to judge contribution only by entrepreneurship. That's all I want to say. Yeah? I agree with you that we need more black entrepreneurs, but that's not the only standard by which you judge contribution to country. I just want to stick that in there. You and I agree. You and I agree that we need more black entrepreneurs. We obviously need. If you can tell me how the PPP can make 1,000 black entrepreneurs without asking them to join the PPP, I am ready to go and sit down with Arfanali.
But Dr. Hines, yes, let me hear you. Sorry. Let me see you finish. Let me hear you finish.
No, I'm just saying, I am for 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 black billionaires. But I am saying they must not have to go over and do bad things to become billionaires.
But Dr. Hines, I'm saying very clearly, the space is there once people are willing to position themselves in that space. And if I may say this, Dr. Hines.
Show me the space. Show me the space. Show me the space in the PPP for that.
With it in the government for that. I think I give an example, the Black Entrepreneurial Network. Mm-hmm. They were allotted 60 or so acres, very valuable land. It probably exceeds $1 billion. We have oil blocks going to Guyanese of all races. I think I saw 2 young women, Afro-Guyanese women, in that space. Even in Melanie, there is the agricultural group in which persons now have access to have shade houses and the pens, etc., whereby they could generate hundreds of millions of dollars. And none of these people are being asked to vote for the PP Civic.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you think any of those persons would want to come on an opposition platform and speak?
I can't speak for them.
No, they will lose their nuts. They will lose all the money that you talk, and that's the crux of that. Is the question I'm trying to walk us through here, James. It is not that the PPP is not prepared to give resources to Africans, but it's what they have to do in exchange. That is why we use the crow term of like bottom Africans, because the PPP is insisting that you can get these things, but it's what you have to do.
And again, before we come to this, let me just say this very clearly, Dr. Hines. Yeah. Do every person that support the PPP Civic or receive from the PPP Civic go on a platform for them? Every black person.
No, I am asking you.
No, I get the point.
No, the question is no.
Well, exactly.
But what I'm saying, of those people you talk about there, the Black Empowerment Network, tell me 2 of them who can go on a opposition platform. I'm sure they got supporters, opposition supporters.
When did Terence Campbell get his write-off?
No, I don't want to discuss that, Terence Campbell.
No, I'm just asking a question.
No.
Was it the 2020?
No, I don't want to discuss Terence Campbell, man. No,
I'm not discussing him. I'm just saying, when is it that he would have gotten a write-off? Was it 2020?
I don't know.
When was it that the Lindoners, for example, Vanessa Kissoon, Dr. Pastor London, get contracts?
Yeah, but you see, Terence now is apparently on the same page with the opposition. You see the blows he getting.
Yeah, but I see a lot of persons who speak out against the government, and I got my pastor, London. He's doing a road, and he speaks out against the government every day. He's done. He speaks, and he speaks his truth without fear of contradiction. He's doing a road in London. I think Vanessa Kistoon has a road as well.
One road.
So no, the point you asked the question, which one who gets speaks in opposition? I'm saying there are a lot of guys who get,
talking about
and they're in opposition.
I'm talking about people's substantive contract, not those small.
No, but Dr. Hines, again, you're
know
shifting the goalpost. You're shifting the goalpost.
Anyhow, let's move on. Let's move on.
But I wanted to discuss that like bottom thing though.
All right, go ahead.
You don't had a good laugh about it.
Yes.
You don't had a good laugh about it. And the reason why I find it very, because we don't take insults. We don't get angry for certain things like this. But again, Dr. Hines, leaders must be responsible for their language. And even though you meant satirically, you meant allegorically to address a certain state of affairs,
yes.
I'm of the firm belief that it could have been done better. Because what did happen? Because we said that we must rid our communities of the Lake Bottoms or the Lake Bottom Africans.
Yeah.
And when people hear words like that, people are incensed. Because before you even call my name, you saw on the thread we mentioned James Bond. So again, I think it is very important for people like yourself, yes, who's an elder, who I consider an elder.
Yeah, Barrett Jack, you understand people low life. But
Barrett Jack is not my standard. If you understand, if we continue to hold Barrett Jack as a standard, what are we saying? Are you saying that Barrett Jack is the epitome of what
No.
is
I'm saying, are you prepared to tell?
All follow in his footsteps?
Are you prepared to tell Barrett Jack he must not call people names?
Could I say this there, sir? I'm prepared to tell anybody anything. I don't have licks to get.
But tell Barrett Jack you're here on this program. Stop calling people.
Cormac Jagdio, Cormac Norton, Cormac Hines, all the leaders in this country, use better language.
Yes.
When you're speaking about your fellow sisters and brothers, let us raise the level of our discourse.
Are you prepared to tell Barrett Jagdio to stop on his press conference as vice president of this country, to stop calling people like Cathy Hughes and other black women low life?
I've just done it, sir.
Okay. All right. The point I am.
But will you, Dr. Hines? I not apologize to me.
Yes.
But a lot of youngsters were very, very hurt about what.
I have no apology to make to anybody, James, because I've not set out to offend anybody. And if they get caught in the crossfire, they get caught in the crossfire, right?
So you don't see your words. You don't see your words hurting, affecting, and negatively influencing people.
Negatively influencing in what sense? You mean get black
like
people?
when you stay to call them like Bamsey and like BT when they pass in, and to rid the community of them. You know they could be charged for that.
But
if someone, for example, is walking down the road and you say they're like Bamsey African, you're like BT African, and they make a report, they could be charged.
But James, I don't have the power and influence in the country.
No, but you do.
I come from a 5-man party.
You do. Sir, you do. Even for the 5 men, the 5 men that you have.
I do.
You accepted. Yeah, you do. You have 5 persons, right? And you influence 1.
Talk to me.
Or those 5. You actually telling them to commit an offense.
Talk to me. But you say them little bike on the road. I get influence over them?
No, I'm saying the 5 men you have influence over.
Forget about the 5 men or that get influence over. They won't do that. They won't meet nobody on the road. But you're saying
you sure that?
I go in by what you, but not you, where your friends, Freddie Kistoon said David Hines ain't got no following. How come now David Hines can influence people to interfere with people?
And let me just say this here. Anybody could influence anybody. You don't have to follow somebody to influence them. If monkey see, monkey do.
Yes.
Monkey see, monkey do.
James, the issue is not It's not the language that I use. It's the issue that I raise.
But you can't deflate.
If you concentrate
Yeah.
on the language, you're deflecting from the issue,
No,
which is what the guys in the PPP are doing.
No, but Dr. Hines, I don't want to spend too long on this point,
Yes.
right? But you can't, in my estimation, all due respect,
Yeah.
you can't say that you're using incendiary language. You're using incendiary language and then say, you know what? Oh, this is not what I intended to do. You can't just like this, the bomb throw it and when it blows up, say, oh, I didn't intend for that to happen.
James, you friend call me a clown, you know. In the capacity as president of this country, did you rebuke him?
I didn't hear him call you a clown. You would agree that I was nowhere there. But again, I says
It was all over the news.
Whichever leader does it, I'm saying they're wrong to do it, and we need to raise the level of our discourse.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I
That's all I'm saying.
Have you ever called anybody out slave when you were over on our side?
You know something? I didn't do it publicly, but I did it, and that's why I say, Dr. Hines, I call for boycott and all those kind of things. That's why I say I could take my licks. I could give it and I could take it. You know, I could give it and I could take it. So I understand, but the thing is, it comes from fear. You know, you're fearful of losing your constituency. You're fearful of losing your supporters. And out of that fear, you react in that kind of manner.
No.
So
I can tell you. No, don't speak for me in that sense. I'm not fear of losing my constituency.
No, but you are.
Hold on. I am fearful of the PPP reducing my people to second-class citizenship. My issue is not.
But that fear is
losing.
What is that fear based on?
Because according to you all, I don't have a constituency, so I don't have any fear. My fear is the PPP using your innocence as a means of entrapping my people on a plantation again.
And again, that is a baseless fear. With all due respect, my elder.
All right.
That is a baseless
I
fear.
hope it is.
You know what I see though? I see that persons who call persons house niggers and all want to keep people on a plantation. You know, they don't want they want to keep people on a plantation. They want to keep people.
Expand on that.
Yeah, good. This is what I mean. We all have started somewhere, some level. And persons that equate going to the PPP Civic as going for money, or as going for things, as going for opportunities, etc. So they consider where they are in a particular position as being
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know if I was being heard just now.
No, yes, you're being heard.
Okay. Yes, good. So I'm saying in a particular camp, they view we're here together. This is the plantation. We're together. The minute you go off to the plantation to go to the PP Civic, which is seen as, oh, there's money over there, there's opportunities over there. So you're leaving where you are, the plantation, to go over there. It's not going to another plantation. They see this, you're going to better yourself alone. Individualism. Say, no, you got to be here with the collective. You got to stay with us. If we getting licks, if we getting beat, if we not getting this or that, you got to stay here. You can't leave to go over to the PPPC to get anything. And
James,
that is the mindset in which it is programmed. But I want to say this to Guyana. As far as I know, and you said it rightfully, the People's Progressive Party was never a slave masters. Burnham.
James.
It's not because you're my elder, allow me to interrupt me like this, you know.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Black people, African Guyanese, are more, perhaps they're Amerindians, but African Guyanese are more diversified in their political thinking than Indo-Guyanese. The history of modern political history has borne that out. Burnham has had to contend with EUC Kwayana. He has had to contend with Walter Rodney. He has had to contend with the AFC after Burnham. The PNC has always had to contend with opposition within the African community. The PPP has never had that same contention. African Guyanese are more diversified. More African Guyanese have been open to the PPP than Indian Guyanese have been open to the PNC. I'm not asking you that. I am telling you that as a
So why is there an issue then when Afro-Guyanese go to the PPP?
No, the issue is not.
If you say religious possess, that's so
James,
why is it an issue?
That is not the issue. The issue is what the PPP, this present PPP is using your innocence to do. That's the issue. That's what I'm saying. It's not about
to empower
it's not
people,
about you.
to assist people, to create opportunities for people, to work with people.
About you. You are making it about you. It's not about you.
That's the farthest thing from the truth.
It's not about you. It's about the PPP and what it is using your innocence to do.
And I beg to disagree, Dr. Hines.
You can disagree.
You know, Dr. Hines, let's take a pin on this, Dr. Hines. Let's take a pin on this very important point. The People's Progressive Party Civic does not need a James Bond to do anything.
You think so?
And I'm telling you so.
You know what your face on a PPP to do for the PPP?
Sir, with all due respect, sir, you know, you asked to blow my own horn just now, but I'm extremely modest.
All right, go.
And I could tell you very much, sir, to win an election, the People's Progressive Party don't need James Bond, they don't need David Hines.
Right.
They don't need us. I'm saying the People's Progressive Party, whilst in government, has made overreaches. They've made extensions without me being a part of this. I didn't start anything, Dr. Hines.
Right.
This thing happening all the time. People are gravitating towards the PPPC. Africa Selman did it a few years ago. And if you could recall,
yes,
you know, I remember her, Ms. Patricia Green, former mayor, deputy mayor. And there are no person I may not recall went over to the People's Progressive Party Civic. So no one is being used. I'm saying the People's Progressive Party has shown itself to be a party that's accommodating.
Let's wait and see that as it unfolds. James, have you considered that the PPP can lose this election, and if they lose this election, you have to deal with that situation?
What situation? Again, my elder Dr. Hines.
Yeah.
I have never seen myself as beholden in terms of where I want to achieve or what I gotta get in life, because of the cover of government.
Okay.
You know, I've never seen that.
So you will swing back. And PNC you can swing back.
No, it's not about swinging and swinging.
Okay. All right.
It's not about swinging and swinging. I've made a decision to support the People's Progressive Party Civic. And everyone likes to say, oh, we will win an election. But I believe in working. I believe in you got to put in the work. You got to have a strategy. And you have to have a machinery that is willing to work, a machinery that is able to touch all 10 regions, every nook and cranny. And I want to say very clearly, with the movement, I mean, you haven't seen the groundswell yet. I want to tell you, Dr. Hines, you ain't see nothing yet. You think it's James Bond alone. But you ain't see the movement yet that's going to happen. You're going to see it just now. I think when Guyana sees that more persons than before are with the People's Progressive Party Civic, then they'll understand what I'm saying is that the party has created a new dynamic.
All right.
I don't want
you advertise because I don't want you advertising PPP on the show.
Dr. Hines, I told you before I came on the program, I said, Dr. Hines, I will be advocating for the People's Progressive Party. I told you, sir. So don't I allow you to rub me once and twice, but allow me to advocate. Allow me to advocate. Yeah,
All right,
there's
good.
going to be a movement. There's going to be a groundswell of young people for the People Progressive Party. And it didn't start with me. I must say, Dr. Ali. And people says, James, you mustn't just talk about your friends with Dr. Ali and this and that. But let's call a spade a spade. Which president in the past few years, I've never seen LFSB, and I only saw Judaism tonight once. But I've never seen a president. I've seen all the other presidents from Dr. Jagan, Sam Hines, Vice President Jack Leo, Donald Ramatar, David Gridgen, President Ali. I've seen all of them. And I've never seen a president with such a human touch, who goes into every community, who reaches every single one, who is touched by the ordinary Guyanese. And I'm saying it is making an impact, my brother.
James, let me ask you some quick questions. Do you believe we should have biometrics in the coming election?
I don't have an opinion on it, but could I say this? Whatever it takes to protect the integrity of the process, I'm for it. Whatever it is.
Okay.
I've not followed the arguments for or against biometrics, but whatever protects the integrity of the polling place, I am for it. Whatever.
Do you believe that we should cleanse the voters list, clean the voters list?
Again, whatever protects the process. I believe the house-to-house registration could go on and get persons who are not supposed to be on the list off the list. Whatever protects the integrity of our elections. Being part of two elections, 2015, 2020, 2012, 2015, 2023 elections, 3 electoral cycles. Once I have the experiences you would have had, but I maintain that a lot of our issues with elections, we must try as much as possible to fix them, because I think that is the one thing that is causing a lot of division amongst our peoples. Respect of race, I don't see race as a problem, because I can't think race is a problem. And you're working and living with me for five years, and all of a sudden you're not living and living together and talking the same things. I believe elections play a major part in our divisions, and I think we should endeavor to try as much as possible to ensure that at least 90%, 99%, or whichever the political parties are comfortable with what is happening.
Should the state media give equal coverage to both sides of the political divide?
Of course. That's easy. It's the state's media. It's the people's media. Of course.
Do you support the renegotiation of the oil contract?
I haven't followed that story. I saw. I had a cursory glance at the negotiations are ongoing, and whatever is in Ghana's best interest, I will always go for more, my brother. My elder, I will always say, give Guyana more. I vex we can't get all, but in terms of contracts, Exxon came in when we didn't have the resources to do what they had to do, and they've made people like to knock Exxon Mobil, But I say Exxon Mobil played its part as a corporation to bring the oil up, and you can't just throw that aside. That they've made contributions to Guyanese and Guyanese culture in terms of sponsoring and helping in various communities and various projects. They've done their part, but Guyana could get more. Give us more.
Do you think that teachers' wages and public servants' wages?
Of course not. It's not enough. It's not enough. Easy.
Do you support constitutional reform?
Of course. In a sense, in this aspect, in this very simple aspect, I think at some point, and I've said this here, I would love to see the PNC and the PP work together. I would love to see Comrade Norton and Comrade Ali work together for this country. Because whether you like it or not, Guyana needs the PP and the PNC. Jump high, jump low. Guyana needs the PPP and the PNC for the simple reason that the two political parties represent a large constituency of our population, a large follow. They have a large following, and most times the language is different, but I think they both mean the same thing. No one could tell me that Dr. Ali doesn't want what's best for Guyana, and no one could tell me that Dr. Aubrey North doesn't want what's best for Guyana. But the way they go about it is different. And I think if we fuse our ideas, and that's why I'm a consortium nationalist. I believe in fusion. I believe in coming together. I believe it. And I think the PPP and the PNC, in terms of constitutional reform, there must be a mechanism whereby these two political um, parties, juggernauts, forces in our country have an opportunity to cooperate at every single level. Executive, legislature, those are the two levels. I think we must find a mechanism which we bring on stream our political parties to work together, not just by the constitution of boards, etc., etc. But I believe in decision making. There must be some avenue created for that.
Do you have any thoughts on the recent um, uh, revelations in the news about the distribution of lands to major companies and individuals?
I've heard cursory. I've read cursory snippets on the social media with terms of the distribution of lands, and I must say, let me just put it very frankly, I don't like commenting on things, certain things. Not everything was got an answer for. But from what I would have heard or read, is that there were processes that were followed in terms of CHP allocating those lands. It is now incumbent, if a person has a different view as to how this person may have acquired a particular land, then it's for them to show it. But I think Guyanese, certain Guyanese section, Guyanese media, we tend to sensationalize things. We tend to sensationalize things. The minute we hear, oh, X is happening, without doing a proper investigation of what is going on. And then we get personal and we get nasty. And so for what I would have read thus far, the little I would have read, is that the processes were fully complied with, and the persons had acquired the land. But one thing I must say, I'm glad I listened to the press conference in which I think the vice president was saying, look, the same processes that went for these persons went for everyone. And I don't think anyone has come to say, oh no, this person here got special treatment, or that person there got special treatment. I haven't seen that part seen that as yet.
James Bond, former member of the PNC, now a member of the PPP, here tonight fielding, answering a range of questions from us. And as I said at the beginning of the program, I invited James to come on the program in the spirit of African conversation. Obviously, we agree on some things and disagree on many things. But as I have always said to you all on this program, at the end of the day, we have to build this country together, and we have to find ways and means of doing so. James, your closing thoughts.
First and foremost, I must say, if I offended my Afro-Guyanese brothers and sisters by saying that they need to make a greater contribution, I apologize. I think you made a very strong point in terms of equating public service with contribution. Although I'm of the firm view that we need less Afro-Guyanese in the public service. I honestly believe that, and I still believe that. But I accept your point that it may come across as though I'm labeling Afro-Guyanese as lazy. I'm not. Let me just say this. I believe we have a history of working hard, a history of excellence. And I'm saying outside of the public service, outside of everything, we could achieve excellence on our own as a collective, how we see fit. And secondly, I want to thank you for being an elder. The thing is, we need more place where, and this, I'm going to be very clear about this. Afro-Guyanese abuse and lick down and kick down and don't find a space where they could come together and have a rational and reasonable conversation. And I think this is history in the making, in that just Monday last, you would have said certain things, and here I am, with my elder, and I always said I've always given you that respect. I would never disrespect an elder. And I think the space now to show that, look, we could disagree. And this is not just about Afro-Guyanese, and let us transcend this beyond that. That even if an Indo-Guyanese and an Indo-Guyanese and Indo-Guyanese and American Guyanese, whoever, if we call ourselves Guyanese and true patriots, we must have a door open for conversation. Let us not stop talking to each other. Let us not stop listening to each other. I think it is critical going into this election season that we respect each other, to listen, and to reason and talk with each other.
And quite a positive note on which to end. I echo those comments. As I've always said, my contention has always been political, not personal. And that even though we disagree politically, I agree with you that we have to find a space in which we can talk through. We would not agree with much at the end, but at least we would have had a conversation. I thank you for coming on, and I thank you for taking what Ralph Gonzalez said. Take
your legs like a man.
Take your legs like a man. Thanks very much, my brother. Thanks. Right. And to you, the audience, y'all come out in large numbers here tonight. You see, y'all give James a big audience. But this is the spirit. This is the spirit. We don't have to agree. We don't have to agree on much, but we have to find a place to talk. And as I said, James called me last night. He said he'd been trying to get me since Tuesday, and we had a long conversation, and he came on tonight. We may not have shifted the button very far, but at least we talked. Tomorrow night, Friday night, we'll be back here again, and I'm telling you all again, I'm extending the same conversation, the same invitation to Leno Craig. He was an AFC guy, and I called his name also on Monday, and I spoke with him, and I've extended the invitation to him, so sometime next week. We'll be here tomorrow night. I know I have a couple of you to thank for donations, but it's been hectic these last 2 or 3 days, but I'll get it all together, and tomorrow night we will do the thanking. Thank you all so much, and again, I shall see you all tomorrow night, same time.